Have you ever seen this? Your application works absolutely fine on your system, but when you push it to the server, your application crashed down. You might have heard these terms: it worked on my machine, or it failed after the deployment is done, or the production is down. If you have faced this or you are scared that you will face this in future, then this video is for you. In this video, we are going to discuss what software deployment is and how it used to be very much painful earlier, and how does modern tools like Docker solve this issue. Let me take you to my screen and let us discuss about software deployment. Alright, so before even we move further, just wanted to discuss one small thing, that in DevOps, every tool serves one purpose. Git is known as central version control. Jenkins is used for CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous delivery and deployment. Just like that, Docker is used for containerization, and it is known as a containerization platform for modern DevOps. Now let us move further with the actual topic that we want to discuss, that is software deployment. Now let us go with the bookish definition that we can find on the internet, and then I will present it in a very simpler manner into a simple statement. Now, what actually software deployment is? So, software deployment is defined as a multi-stage process of making a software system available for use. It bridges the gap between development and the end user by installing, configuring, and enabling the application in specific environment, such as the cloud server or the local device. Now, what this definition wants to say? So, if I put this into a simpler terms, it is just like making your code available to the user is what we call software deployment. But why do we even need software deployment? So you as a developer, you write the code so that the customer can use your application, the business can earn money, and the user will use the feature that you developed. But how do we do it? We need a way to present that thing to the user, and that's where software deployment comes into the picture. It is used to move the code from developer's laptop to the user to a server so that the user can use it. It should be safe. It should be repetitively done, because every time you write a code, you introduce a new feature, and that thing should be available to the user. And if the user is using it, so you have to make sure that it is bug free. That's the reason we are making sure that the deployment is been done repetitively, and it should be done without breaking the existing features. And that's the reason we need software deployment. And that is the entire process of software deployment, right? Now, what will happen if there is no proper deployment done? So the app will only work in the developer's machine, because there are no specific set of rules that are being followed. Different servers will behave differently. Why? Because of the configuration. In development server, everything will work fine, but if it moves to QA or in prod, it will behave differently, right? This is happening. Why? Because there are environmental changes, and that's the issue. The server behaves differently. The bugs will appear randomly if these are not in sync. The rollback will become painful, and the release team will say, God save us. And the team will fight instead of fixing the issues, right? So this will happen without proper software deployment. Now, let us discuss about two more things, that is traditional deployment and modern deployment, right? So, let us first discuss traditional software deployment. Now, what is traditional software deployment? Okay, so traditional deployment means manual work, server by server setup, human dependent issues, meaning people do everything by their own hand. Like if that person resigns or if that person is on leave, then you will have to wait for the next day. So every step is manual, and that's the pain point why people switched from traditional deployment to modern deployment. Now, if you want to understand a traditional deployment, let me take you to a very vague example which will help you to understand how does a traditional deployment was becoming painful for the people, so that they moved from traditional deployment setup to modern deployment. Now, let us first take this example, then I will give you a analogy so that it will be easier for you to understand and visualize what was the issue. So, in traditional deployment, the developer writes the code, it sends the code to the ops team. The ops team log into the server. They install the required software manually. I repeat, they install the required softwares manually, they copy the file manually, they start the application manually, and then they praise nothing breaks. Each step here is dependent on human, and they have to remember the things. The best thing that they can do in this setup is to document everything. But again, everything will be done manually, right? Now, let us take an example which will help us to understand what was the pain point in traditional deployment. Now, imagine that you are cooking a food, right? So it is defined into three steps. You cook the food, you prepare it, and then you deliver it. So cooking the food is just like building your application, and packing the food is just like preparing it, and then you are delivering the food, meaning it is been deployed. Now, no matter how tasty you created the food, how much hard effort you put into cooking, if it didn't reach to the user, it fails. Just like that, if the deployment is not done correctly, it didn't reach the user, and then it makes no sense for the development. That was the main pain point of traditional deployment. Now, what was the legitimate issues with traditional deployment? So it created issues like it was working on my machine. So like I mentioned earlier, like everything works fine on the dev environment. But when it moves to a new environment, it used to create issue. Why? Because everything was done manually. The code was copied manually, it was installed manually, and everything was done manually. That's the reason we were facing the traditional statement issue, that was it works on the machine. There were environment mismatch, there was longer deployment time, and every time when we were doing the deployment we had a fear, and this was the issue that was creating the nightmare for the release team. And the deployment they used to feel like god help us, and that was the issue, that was the pain point with the traditional deployment. And then comes the lifesaver, which we call as modern software deployment, right? So what actually is modern deployment? So modern deployment means automation, repeatable steps, same environment everywhere, fast and safe releases. So instead of human remembering the things, machine follow the instructions. Now, let us take an example to understand this. I believe every one of us has ordered something from Amazon or maybe from Flipkart, right? So every time whenever you receive a package, right, you can see a box is of same type. They follow the same labeling. They follow the same instruction. And that's the reason they have very high delivery amount. And that is the reason they receive multiple orders in a time, because they follow the same pattern. And that is something modern deployment does, right? I hope this example made sense. So, how does modern deployment works? The developer writes the code goes to a central place that is called Git, and then automated system builds it. I repeat again, automated system builds it, automated system tests it, automated system deploys it, and then the application is live. So no guessing, no manual copying, and no panicking. And the user can actually use it. Now, what are the focus area of modern deployment? So here, 4 points are there. First, consistency. Same setup is there everywhere. Automation. Machine do the boring job for us. Instead of we doing the manual task, automation takes place. Third is speed. Faster releases. And fourth, reliability, meaning fewer failures. So this is where tools like Docker come into the picture and save our life. Now, let us see a difference between tradition and modern system so that we will get a clarity why we switched from traditional deployment to modern deployment. So, in traditional deployment, everything used to be manual, but in modern deployment, everything is automated. Traditional deployment used to be slow because human worked on it, but modern deployment is very much fast because machine works on it. It is working in an automated manner. In traditional deployment, there were chances of error, but in modern deployment, the errors are predictable. Traditional deployment used to be stressful because it used to take a very long time, but in modern deployment, we just relax and let the machine do it work. Traditional deployment used to work and behave different on different environment, but in modern deployment, it works the same everywhere. That was the difference between both of them. Now, if we take a real example, let's say a company gives an updates 5 times a day. what will happen when we go with traditional deployment? It will become very much impossible for us. It will become too risky and it will become too slow because everything is done here manually. But when it comes to deployment, it will be just one click, it will be automated, and if something goes wrong, rollback will be done within a minute, right? And that's how company like startups survive and scale. Now, you might have a confusion, or you might be having some myths regarding deployment. So these are the top three myths that I was having while I started with my journey. So what deployment is? Deployment means uploading files only? No, it includes your environment changes, your configuration, and running the app. Second, only big companies need deployment tools, or like if I am a single person developing the application, do I need deployment? Yes, even a single person, a single projects need a clean deployment. Third, modern deployment is only for DevOps engineer. No, every developer will benefit from it because when it comes to deployment, every team is involved in it. But if we follow modern approach, it will only involve few resources and the remaining resources can work on the productivity. So let us do a recap. So what software deployment is? Software deployment is like taking your app and making it available to the user. What was traditional deployment? Traditional deployment was everything that we used to do manually. It was very manual, and second, it was risky. We came across with new term that is modern deployment, which is an automated manner, and this is where Docker comes into the picture. Now, most production issues happen during deployment time, and that is something that we learned in this specific video. And who is the lifesaver for us here? It's Docker, who is existing to save this issue, to save the pain point of deployment. So yeah, that was all in this video where we learned about what actually software deployment is. We saw a difference between traditional system and modern deployment. Right. In the next video, we are going to discuss about containerization. And yeah, that was all in this video. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much and keep learning.